I wish I could go back and fix everything, but it's too late right now.
In the beginning, Celestine and Faustina were inseparable. Before the child. Before the silence. Before everything broke. They laughed easily. They touched often. They chose each other every day. People used to say, these two will grow old together. And they believed it. When Faustina became pregnant, Celestine became gentler, more careful, more present. She felt loved. She felt safe. Then Amara was born. And love changed shape. Celestine loved his daughter deeply. Not wrongly. Not obsessively. Just openly. He sang to her. Carried her everywhere. Smiled in ways Faustina had not seen in years. At first, Faustina told herself, this is normal. But feelings do not ask permission. Slowly, she noticed she was no longer the first voice Celestine listened to. If Amara cried, he moved. If Faustina spoke, he said, wait. He didn't mean harm. But harm was happening. Faustina felt herself shrinking. As a woman. As a wife. She watched her husband give tenderness to another being. And something ugly grew quietly inside her. Not hatred. Jealousy. She fought it. She prayed. She cried alone. She begged God to remove the feeling. But jealousy does not leave easily. The night it happened, there was no plan. No anger. Just exhaustion. Amara had been crying for hours. Celestine was not home yet. Faustina walked the room, rocking her. Her head pounded. Her chest felt tight. Her thoughts were loud. She is the reason I am invisible. The thought scared her. She tried to shake it away. But her body acted before her heart could stop it. She pressed the child too tightly. Just for a moment. A moment that felt like nothing. A moment that felt like everything. Then silence. Faustina froze. She shook Amara gently. Called her name. Nothing. When Celestine arrived later, Faustina was on the floor. Crying. Screaming. Holding the child. Doctors came. Neighbors gathered. Words like sudden. Unknown cause. Sometimes these things happen. Were spoken. Celestine collapsed. Faustina screamed louder than anyone. Because her pain was real. But her guilt was realer. They buried Amara together. They cried together. They mourned together. At night. Celestine cried in his sleep. Faustina stayed awake. Holding a secret that burned her chest. Days passed. Then months. The house became quiet. Too quiet. Faustina began to change. She stopped eating well. She stopped laughing. She stopped sleeping. Sometimes she stared into space. Seeing that night again. Celestine thought it was grief. And he held her. But grief has an end. Guilt does not. One afternoon. Months later. Faustina overheard Celestine talking to a neighbor. If only I had been home that night. His voice broke. I would have saved her. Something shattered inside Faustina. That night. She couldn't breathe. She cried until her body shook. She whispered the truth. To no one. Then the signs began. She started talking in her sleep. Saying Amara's name. Saying, I didn't mean to. Celestine noticed. He asked gently. She denied. Until one day. She broke. It wasn't during a fight. It wasn't during anger. It was during mourning. Faustina knelt on the floor. Crying. Her voice cracked. And she said the words. I was there. I didn't plan it. But I did it. The room went silent. Celestine didn't shout. He didn't move. He didn't breathe. The truth settled slowly. Like poison. Faustina wept. I was jealous, I hated myself for it, I loved her, but I was broken. After Faustina confessed, the house did not break. It emptied. Celestine did not shout. He did not curse. He did not lift his hand. That hurt more than anger. He stood still for a long time. Then he said only one thing. I need air. And he walked out. Faustina stayed on the floor. Not praying. Not crying. Just sitting inside the truth. Outside, the world continued. Children laughed. Women swept their compounds. Life showed no respect for grief. Celestine walked without knowing where he was going. Every step felt unreal. He remembered Amora's first cry. Her tiny fingers. How she smiled when she saw him. And now, the woman he trusted most had carried her death quietly in her chest. That night, Celestine did not come home. Faustina did not sleep. She waited. Morning came. Celestine returned. His eyes were red. His voice was calm. Too calm. He asked her to repeat it. Slowly. Everything. Faustina told the story again. No drama. No excuses. Just truth. When she finished, Celestine covered his face and wept like a child. I loved you, he said. I loved you more than myself. Those words cut deeper than punishment. For days, they lived like strangers. Same house. Different words. Faustina stopped eating. Not to punish herself. Food just tasted like ash. Celestine stopped speaking much. Words felt useless. Then the town began to notice. Someone saw Faustina crying alone at the river. Someone heard her whispering names at night. Someone remembered how she never left Amora alone that evening. Whispers grew legs. They walked. Something is not right. One afternoon, elders came. Not with anger. With questions. Celestine sat silently. Faustina shook. Her body knew this moment had been waiting. She stood. And spoke. I did not mean to kill my child. But I did. The room collapsed into silence. Some women cried. Some looked away. Some judged. The elders spoke of law. Of responsibility. Of consequences. Faustina did not resist. She did not argue. She bowed her head. Celestine said nothing. Until they asked him, what do you want to do? He looked at Faustina. The woman he once danced with. The woman who carried his child. The woman who broke everything. And he said, let the truth stand. Faustina was taken away. Not as a monster. But as a broken human being. In the cell. She finally slept. Not peacefully. But honestly. She dreamed of Amara. Not crying. Just looking at her. Celestine visited once. Only once. They did not touch. They did not argue. Faustina said, I am sorry. Celestine nodded. I know. That was all. Years later. People still told the story. Not loudly. But carefully. They said, jealousy does not always scream. Sometimes it whispers. Celestine left the town. He never remarried. Faustina served her sentence. But some sentences never end. And mothers in that town, when they feel bitterness rising, they remember Faustina. They remember Amara. Because this story was never about evil. It was about neglect. Emotional abandonment. And what happens when pain is ignored?